Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'll provide an overview of experimentation, covering what is experimentation, what experimentation can help with, when to use experimentation. Throughout the different stages, I'll be highlighting key takeaways as well as key watch-outs for each stage. What is experimentation? I believe this is like the closest product managers get to being scientists, because it is a scientific method to prove ideas and capture information to measure the value of your ideas. Is ultimately a way to validate or invalidate a hypothesis you have about a change in your product. How many times have you been in situations with your stakeholders or with other people in your team where either the highest paid person in the room gets their way, or you have a lot of different conflicting ideas, subjective ideas of what would work? People would think, no, this idea or this approach is going to add more value to customers. And this is where experimentation is really valuable, because this is the way in which you can take a subjective idea or an assumption about what you think you know about your customers, put it into a framework that will then be able to validate whether your assumption was right or wrong. So it's a really powerful way to validate ideas, and is very powerful in understanding more and learning about your customers. So overall, experimentation is really common nowadays in product management, and a lot of software companies and digital companies are using this in order to learn more about their customers. Probably one of the best examples that you probably have seen, because you have been one of the people on the other side being experimented on, is Netflix. So you can always see how much experimentation they're doing with a different way of presenting the information, with helping you find the right content. And probably one of the biggest ones is when they introduced top 10 TV shows, top 10 movies watched in your country, and you could see how that has stayed. So from their perspective, they had an idea, they tested it, they got the results they wanted, and that change has stayed. When it comes to the structure of experimentation, when you have A/B testing, you pretty much have your control, which is the current state of your product, and you will have one variant, that is that one change you believe is going to impact a specific metric. And then what happens is that you get customers, you split the traffic, if it's A/B test, 50-50, and you'll be able to measure the key metrics for that experiment. So for example, if you're an e-commerce company and you want to increase conversion, you'll have your control, and then your variant is going to be that specific change, and you will measure which one of those is actually going to drive the highest level of conversion. Experiment will have a primary metric, the main change you actually want to drive, or the main learning you're trying to get. What does experimentation help with? Experimentation helps with validating ideas or assumptions, and it helps you build a better picture about your customers. Experimentation also helps with providing an objective measurement of the value or impact of an idea. And thirdly, experimentation helps reduce ambiguity when it comes to validating a problem space. One really important note to make is that, from my experience, around 75% of experiments end up being negative or flat. And this is why it's really important to set up an experimentation stream, which means you have an opportunity to iterate on the experiments rather than doing one-off experiments, because majority of them will end up being flat. The value of experimentation comes from iterations, comes from building that knowledge about the customers, keep iterating on it, keep validating different assumptions. That would then drive value. When to use experimentation? When you have low confidence in an idea, if you already have really high confidence that this idea is going to drive change, you probably want to just release the change to 100% of your customers so you get the most value out of it. Secondly, experimentation is really useful when you're trying to test risky ideas. If you believe something is risky and you're not sure how your customers are going to react, if you're trying to introduce an extra step, or if you're trying to introduce positive friction, or areas where you believe that actually is very important to validate, so you don't impact negatively. Or it's also really useful to use experimentation when it comes to validating the value of a change. Sometimes, it might take a lot of engineering effort to productionize or build a feature, but if you are able to create an experiment with a lot less engineering effort to validate if this idea is worth pursuing, In summary, experimentation is a really powerful tool for you to validate ideas with the lowest amount of effort from engineering perspective, and it's a way to really get quantifiable data on how much value and how are your changes being perceived by customers. Thank you so much for watching the video. Please subscribe for more product management content. Bye.